Hi, I'm Spillis, and for my Engineering 2 final project, I'm going to walk you through how I built a headrest set for my headsets that I have here at home. So I had a problem in my house where my headsets would always fall onto the floor or they'd get tangled up because I didn't have anywhere to put them. So I decided to build a headset rest, and I'm going to walk you through how I built it. So I started by building a base for the headrest, and so I went on to Fusion 360 and I first made a box of the appropriate width and length that would fit my desk but not take up too much space. Then I extruded it and sketched out a hole right in the middle of it. Then extruded that hole the right length. Then I curved one edge to face downwards, and then I made an extension to that new face to make little legs. Next, I made a rectangle in the circle and extruded that rectangle to make grooves that the rod of my headset rest would fit into. And then I mirrored this whole image to give myself a place for two rods, so two headset rests. So now I'll go into how I built the rods. So I started with a circle sketch, then extruded that circle to the appropriate height that I wanted my rods to be. Then I made a tiny, a slightly smaller circle on the top of my rod and extruded that downwards to make a hole that would fit into the headrest base and also the headrest pad that we'll see later, and did it on both sides. And I made those rectangles that would serve as grooves on both sides, as you can see here and here. So lastly, I made the pads for the tops of the headsets. So started off with another square, extruded that square, curved one edge of it, and extruded that the length that I thought was appropriate to support my headset. Did it on both sides. Then I made a sketch for a hole that you can guess became where that pad will sit on the rod. Then I went around all over the surroundings and made ledges so that the headset wouldn't slide around, and connected each all throughout every edge. And lastly, or almost lastly, I filleted every edge to make sure that this wouldn't hurt your hands if you touched it too hard, and it wouldn't be sharp. And then I made those grooves that we've talked about a couple times here. And now we are ready to put this whole thing together, all three pieces together. So went back to my base file. I inserted the rod. Then I made the edges of the grooves parallel and made a joint, or sorry, congruent and made a joint. Then I inserted a pad and made the edges of their grooves congruent and made another joint. And so that's how they came together, and I did that process twice, and now we've got a completed headset rest. And the last thing I did, which will come in handy later, was I changed this to this and then took off the layout, then found an angle that I thought was cool for a picture, and I screenshotted this, and you will see why later. All right, the next thing I want to do is design a box for this product to go into. So the 3 pieces are going to break apart, obviously, and fit into a box, and there's a lot of room for creativity in that box. I decided to go with a 2-part box, a shoe box that has a bottom and a top. And what you're looking at now is the bottom. So basically, I just I sketched what this box would look like and extruded it. The height of the paper that we used, and then we printed out. But it's a little more complicated than that to just design this, because we use something called parameters, and I'll show you what that looks like right now. So these FXs are parameters, and the way that you get them is you go to this page and you use user parameters, and I use length, width, and height, and these are the specifics, but basically it makes everything easier. Instead of typing in all these lengths and widths a lot of different times, I just start typing length, width, or height, and it puts in the measurement, and you can design a box very precisely this way with little gaps and whatever you need to make sure that when you print this out, it's going to be the right size. So this is the box's final design, and next I'll show you how we got that box ready to print. Through a process that Mr. Dubard and I cried, laughed, and struggled through, we were able to insert this box's outline into Cricut. So first we did the bottom, and that's what this black form is, and then we did the top. So the top is the same, but it has art on it, because that's what goes on the outside. So what you're looking at here is the outline of the top, and if I make that invisible, you'll see the art that is on the box. So that screenshot that I mentioned earlier is pasted here, and then I put in writing like the website, the product name, the basically product description, and the slogan, and then what the box actually has in it, the content on it. So all of these things I pasted in, and I made them all draw instead of cut, and that's what these settings are here. And then I made only the box cut, and then I selected all of these options on the right side, and I attached them all so they wouldn't move when I went to make it. So once you press make it, you go through a process of printing it out, and now I'll show you all of the pieces printed out and the box printed out, and I'll show you how it was put together. Okay, so now I'm here on campus with all my pieces printed out. These are all my pieces, and I cut up and folded my boxes with tape on the insides right here. This is the top with all that design, and what I did was I put it together by putting the headrest down with the legs facing upwards, and then I place the pads like that and the rods like this, and the top came on just perfectly because of all the measurements that we did. And now you have a finished product right here.